I received an email from Christopher K recently asking a very interesting question. He said, "I have a question regarding dead air and I can't seem to find a good answer, so I'm hoping you could help. Why do regulators issue fines for dead air? It's obvious to me why a broadcaster wouldn't want dead air because they will lose their listeners, but why would regulators penalise companies for this? The potential loss of listeners is its own punishment in itself." Well, Christopher, that's a great question. I'm not an expert in broadcasting, but I do have the answers for you. Dead air is a period of silence or lack of audio on a broadcast channel. It usually occurs in radio broadcasting when no audio program is being transmitted for what is referred to as an extended period of time. This is classified as a silent period of more than a few seconds. Dead air often occurs while a carrier wave is still transmitting. In radio broadcasting, this results in a period of silence, and in television, there's usually a silent black or grey screen. The term dead air is usually used when program material comes to a halt, rather than a transmission failure. In cases such as this, the term gone dark is often used, but the two do seem to be somewhat interchangeable. Dead air is considered an embarrassment, a huge problem, and probably one of the worst things that can happen to a professional broadcaster. Fines can be imposed for dead air because it can disrupt the listening or viewing experience for audiences and is considered a violation of the broadcaster's responsibility to provide continuous programming. Broadcasters can be fined for dead air because it goes against the regulations set by bodies such as the Federal Communications Commission in the United States and Ofcom here in the UK. These regulatory bodies are responsible for overseeing and regulating the airwaves to ensure that broadcasters can serve the public interest and adhere to certain standards. Dead air can occur due to technical issues, equipment failures, or human error. Technological glitches are one of the most common culprits, where a song fails to play, a microphone malfunctions, or a transmission signal disruption. Human error can also be a significant factor. For instance, a DJ may miss a cue, or a script may not be followed correctly. A presenter is responsible for keeping material, whether it be music, ads, or chatter flowing, and gaps in conversation are particularly taboo. Occasionally, external factors such as power outages or natural disasters can cause dead air too. Radio and television thrives on continuous engagement, and when this is broken, listeners can quickly become disinterested or frustrated, potentially causing them to tune to another station. Even if the viewer or listener isn't paying much attention, dead air will likely cause them to change the channel or frequency, and broadcasters don't want this. This loss of audience can result in a decrease in ratings and ultimately a reduction in advertising revenue. Dead air can impact this revenue if it affects the airplay of paid commercials, which of course will upset advertisers, especially those who are paying for primetime slots. It means that their ads are likely not reaching the intended audience. Dead air is often seen as unprofessional and can reflect poorly on the broadcaster. It may give the impression of unpreparedness, technical difficulties, or a lack of skill. To maintain high standards and professionalism, penalties may be imposed to encourage broadcasters to minimise dead air. There are a number of ways to prevent this, such as technical backups, like using reliable broadcasting equipment and maintaining it regularly, implementing systems that can automatically switch to a backup feed in case of a primary source failure, and online backups like cloud services offer great solutions to store and instantly access pre-recorded content. DJs and other on-air personnel should be trained to handle unexpected situations. This includes knowing how to fill dead air with impromptu chatter, seamlessly transitioning to a different segment, or quickly addressing technical issues. Regularly checking all equipment and systems to ensure they're functioning correctly helps too. This includes microphones, mixing consoles, transmission lines, and even the software used for broadcasting. A well-planned script and schedule helps too. It ensures all involved parties know what should happen at any moment, reducing confusion and mistakes. 3 seconds is about as long as a silence can be before somebody reaches for the frequency dial apparently. In some studios there's a light that comes on when a system detects dead air for about 8 to 10 seconds. This prompts presenters to keep the content flowing. Broadcasters use programmable devices that come in many different guises known as silence sensors, off-air alarms, or silence monitors that will raise an alarm and alert them if dead air occurs for more than a few seconds. These systems have often been full during sensitive broadcasting, such as the funeral of Princess Diana, Queen Elizabeth II, and in overnight live broadcasts of Big Brother. During these prolonged periods of silence, a soundtrack such as birdsong, aircraft flying overhead, and other sounds are played over the broadcast to keep the silence detectors from activating. In the event of dead air lasting more than an acceptable duration, for example less than 70 dB, and or no picture, for example 30 seconds, an emergency program can be queued that will take over. The television program may contain generic audio or video and a station identification, and a radio station will usually play a loop of music. The regulations set by the FCC, Ofcom and the like aim to ensure that broadcasters maintain a certain level of quality and reliability in their transmissions. Penalties include fines, having a license renewed for a shorter period of time than standard, or having a license revoked completely. While penalties differ depending on the licensing body of a particular country, they're all detrimental to stations. By imposing fines for dead air, bodies like the FCC and Ofcom encourage broadcasters to take necessary precautions, invest in reliable equipment, and maintain a consistent broadcast schedule to avoid interruptions in service. This helps to ensure that the public receives the programming they expect and that broadcasters fulfill their obligations as licence holders. A station was fined in 2014 by the FCC for a dead air violation. WTRI was silent for a period of 7 months without permission. It offered no explanation and was therefore liable for a $5,000 forfeiture. WTRI, also known as Radio Asia, an AM station on 1520 kHz, was based in the Potomac area at the time. The station applied for a license renewal and the FCC said that it won't be renewed until the matter was settled via payment of the fine. The station has since paid the fine and is back on the air. Westside Radio, a community radio station licensed by serving the multicultural community living in Southall, West London, was fined in 2011 for a violation involving dead air. Ofcom said that under the license, the station is required to provide a service and maintain the character of the service throughout the license period. Following a complaint that the station wasn't broadcasting an audio signal, Ofcom commenced an investigation. The licensee admitted that the radio service had not been compliant throughout much of February 2011 when a program service had not been provided. Subsequently, the station provided an automated sustaining service that didn't meet the requirement to provide typically 12 hours a day of live output. In accordance with its published procedures, Ofcom found the station to be in breach of conditions. Ofcom's decision, having taken into account all of the relevant material, was that a sanction was appropriate, and that it would be appropriate and proportionate to impose a financial penalty of £500. So there you go, Chris. I hope that answers your question. In short, penalties for dead air exist to maintain audience engagement, uphold professionalism, preserve advertising revenue, and comply with industry regulations. The penalty basically helps to ensure that dead air doesn't happen. Before I go, if you'd like to support the channel, then why not consider hitting the join button.